Furfrou, a Pokemon that was once a meme that is actually now usable with the Sand Attack edition in Pokemon Go. While my hair is doing some weird anime stuff, we're going to review some Furfrou battles in the Great League. Alright, so we're going to just jump into these battles here. So I was enjoying testing out Furfrou with my initial Great League team that I was messing around with. So I decided to try to adjust and build a little bit of a different line with that. And in this match, we actually get a safe swap into Azumarill after we brought in our Marowak as a safe swap, which is typically the idea with this team. Is we lose the lead, we more than likely are going to safe swap into our Shadow Alolan Marowak. So it's kind of a tough matchup, but fortunately for us, they are going to not shield this last move, maybe suspecting I might try to bait with a Bone Club. And we end up winning the switch. In comes the Medicham again, which was the original lead. And we just barely live and get off a Shadow Bone. So we do get the shield, which is really nice. And we are going to bring in Dedenne here. So I don't know if I've ever actually run Dedenne in GBL really, or even featured it on a team. But I actually ran this Pokemon on the one run I did at NAIC a couple years ago where I tied for 9th place. It was a pretty insane time. But anyways, yeah, Bastiodon comes in, and actually, Furfrou has a pretty good matchup here against Bastiodon. Having Sand Attack as the fast move, which is 4 times strong against Bastiodon. Plus, I have the coverage of Surf and Grass Knot, which we're just gonna go for straight Surf in this scenario. It's the better option. And yeah, we end up just flipping this match relatively good, even though we lost the lead. And that's a good start to this video. So this next match, we end up getting a Wigglytuff lead. We're going to stay in, and the way I've been playing against the Charmers using Furfrou, I just tend to go for the Grass Knot since it does a little bit more damage, and typically they're not going to shield. And I guess in this scenario, I wasn't really entirely sure if I wanted to stay in. Typically, I don't want to just get farmed out by the Charm. So I decided to bring in Marowak. And they do end up throwing their move, which I can resist. If it's Icy Wind or Disarming Voice, it's fine. I'll just resist it. But they end up just taking the move on Rodriguez, which I thought was kind of strange. But, I mean, I'm not going to complain. And they have a Marowak of their own, actually, in the back. Not the Shadow variant, though. And I will get a shield with my Bone Club. So I'm going to bring in Furfrou here, suspecting that I could live a Bone Club, but they actually go for a Shadow Bone. I'm not entirely sure why. Maybe they thought it would do more damage here. But yeah, we end up throwing the Surf, and they end up bringing in the Wigglytuff, which we do get the last shield. And we do have Dedenne here to just kind of close shop, which we have 2 shields, so we're in a really nice scenario. So there's really no worry about if we're going to finish this match successfully or not. So in this next battle, we end up getting a Scrafty lead. So another lost lead. So we are going to safe swap into Marowak, even though it's not particularly the best switch in. Sorry, I just woke up, drinking my coffee. They bring in Lantern here as their safe swap, which is a little scary, but we're going to try to contest some damage / shields here. Bone Clubs are going to do a little bit of a chunk, being strong against the electric typing, but overall not like our best case scenario. We can take at least 1 Surf here, which is kind of nice because we still are able to get off another Bone Club, which we can chip a bit of damage. And I decided to just switch back into Furfrou to get a little bit of an energy lead, and they just let the Lantern go down. So we throw a Grass Knot into Scrafty. They're gonna Power Up Punch. And the thing that's kind of nice here is that we are still bulky enough that we can get to another charge move, which we throw the Surf here onto Scrafty. And I guess my logic behind this too was I wasn't actually too afraid of Scrafty here in the back line, considering that we did have Dedenne and we aren't really afraid of the fighting or dark moves. So it is a +1 attack, so Foul Play will still do an okay amount of damage. We are going to build up our energy a little bit, and thankfully we didn't just throw our move right away because they do end up bringing Knocked Out here, which because we saved our energy, we are able to strategically throw 2 discharges to remove Knocked Out before worrying about any sort of move. And Yeah, I wasn't sure if they were going to bait here or not, but yeah, we actually got very lucky that we were able to just barely live the counter damage after that foul play. So GG's there. Another Charm user. We're going to play this Gramble pretty much very similar to how we played that Wigglytuff. And we're going to go for the Grass Knot, and I think I switch directly into Marowak. I guess that's what my idea was, like, you know, force out something that maybe Furfrou or Dedenne have a more positive matchup against. And they do end up bringing in a Swampert here, which we do get that shield, which is kind of nice. I'm just going to throw my Bone Club to get off any chip damage, just in case we do end up needing to bring in Dedenne for a play rough, but for whatever reason. So they do just remove Marowak here with the Hydro Cannon, which is quite okay. I'm going to bring in Furfrou again, and we're pretty much going to have to commit a shield just so we can remove the Swampert here. And yeah, that's fine. We're going to throw the Surf. I think it just barely lives. Oh no, it removes it, okay. So they have the Grand Bowl here, and we are able to actually outpace with a Discharge. And in the back, they end up having Dragonite, which, fortunately for us, we do resist its moves, so we can safely get to a play rough here and actually just one-shot the Dragonite. Yeah, so this is a really interesting team. I mean, it's a little spicy, I would say. I mean, just because we're running Furfrou, but I actually feel like I had a lot of fun running this team when I was testing it out. We get a Lantern lead here. Definitely a really great lead for Furfrou. We can just spam Grass Knots. I mean, there's really no need to bait here. But yeah, we could take a move. I knew it was Surf, so I knew I was going to tank that. And yeah, as you can see, once we get that first Grass Knot to connect, we could either, you know, throw the move here, or we could commit a shield, or, you know, in this scenario, they actually commit a shield. So we are just going to let our Furfrou go, and I thought, hey, this might be a good opportunity to just build up energy on Marowak, because, you know, there's a lot of scenarios where Marowak with energy could actually be pretty threatening against an opponent. So they end up bringing Carbink, which is a little scary. I am just going to throw the Bone Clubs, and I decide to bring in Dedenne here, which I will commit a shield against a Rock Slide. The Rock Slide does around about like 35% damage to Dedenne from Carbink. So in this matchup, I feel like right here where I think I commit this shield again. This is where I make the mistake. I should have just taken that Rock Slide to the face and saved my shield for the backline, because they end up having Decidueye here. And my play rough isn't going to be enough damage to remove Decidueye. And as you can see, it gets like so close. If I would have just committed a shield and saved it for Marowak, I would have been able to win this match. GG's though, really unexpected backline there with the Decidueye, so, you know, gotta give it to them. GG's for one set here. So this was my first set trying out this new team alignment, and I've always enjoyed using Shadow Alolan Marowak. I think it's a pretty powerful pick depending on alignment. I mean, Skeledirge could probably be a pretty good option here too. I mean, I think Skeledirge actually could fill the same like role as Marowak, maybe even like better in some scenarios. But yeah, we're gonna start off this next set, and we do get a Skarmory lead, which isn't good at all for Furfrou. I mean, we could still throw Surfs. That's not going to be the most ideal scenario since it does resist our fast attack. So I will switch out, and they do end up having Azumarill as a safe swap, which is not the best for our Marowak. But I think I decide here that I'm going to actually just try to commit the double shields, and I'm going to go for the Shadow Bone. They're either going to commit their shield or they're going to let this go, and they do end up shielding as well. And we are able to, they try to go for a farm down, but we are actually just barely able to get to another Bone Club. But unfortunately, that's not going to be enough to remove it, so we're just going to bring back in Furfrou, get a little bit of an energy lead here, and yeah, from here, I think we are just going to insta-swap into Dedenne. They end up bringing in Machamp, which is a little scary, but we should be able to take a Rock Slide. And yeah, at this point, it's looking kind of bad because we are at such low health that I don't think we're going to be able to essentially take care of Skarmory and Machamp. So yeah, I'm just gonna let Furfrou go at this point because there's no way I can one-shot Machamp with Furfrou's charge moves. So GG's, well played. And we get a Girafarig, which is really cool. Definitely very interesting Pokemon to use with the double kick as its fast attack. Yeah, the Psychic Fangs does end up really hurting here because they have a nice opportunity to bring in Trevenant here to really do some massive damage to me with the Shadow Claw. Also, if you're enjoying this video, please hit that like button. It does help my content out a lot here on the platform. And also consider subscribing if you're interested in Pokemon GBL content or just, you know, Pokemon content overall. So we do get the Talonflame here in the back. This is looking pretty dicey. The Talonflame is able to get off a Flame Charge, which now puts it at a really advantageous spot, having buffed Incinerates. Plus, now we gotta really be careful about getting hit by a fly, and they end up throwing Flame Charge again, which is a really nice call. And I do throw the Surf, but unfortunately we won't be able to get a farm down in this scenario. They're gonna hit me with the, I think, Flame Charge again, and then from here we're not gonna be able to do much because the Girafarig can live a move relatively easily here, and yeah, they're going to be able to return a Psychic Fang to finish up the match. So that is another GG. So a tough start to this second set here, but we're going to play it out and see what we can manage with this set. So we end up getting Pidgeot lead, and to me it was pretty clear this was going to be Feather Dance, but it ended up being Aerial Ace. So I was like, okay, this is Aerial Ace, maybe Feather Dance set. So I throw the Surf, which does an okay amount of damage, and I'm going to throw another Surf, which I think they just let go. Oh, no, they end up shielding that one, which is quite okay. And I decided to bring in Dedenne, thinking more than likely they have 2 flying moves. So yeah, they do reveal that they do have Feather Dance, and they end up having a Steelix here, which is, ooh, that's not looking too good for me. But at the same time, we can kind of resist the attacks that Steelix has as well. So, but it does end up throwing the Psychic Fang, which is like, yeah, okay, that's kind of bad. But I'm just going to keep throwing Play Rough to get off any amount of damage as I can. This is our best option in this current situation. And I'm going to just switch out and try to get off a little bit of a farm down with Marowak. And since I get to the move before them, I decide it might be a good decision to just throw the move. That way either they commit a shield or we save our shields entirely for the back line. And we end up making a good call here, I mean, by doing so, because we have our shield, and with against the Jellicent matchup, we pretty much are in such a good position with the Shadow Bone smacking it that hard. We could bring in Furfrou safely, and it's a matter of just catching the move. This was very crucial in this situation, is to just catch a move. And now I can just go for a straight farm down with Furfrou, knowing that safely we can live that. And yeah, at this point I wanted to just make sure I could get enough for one more Surf. I remove the Steelix and then I can just Surf into Pidgeot, and that is a GG. So yeah, it's actually really close because I'm gonna have to commit my shield here, and we're just barely going to get to a Surf again. If we didn't get Feather Dance, I think maybe we could have removed a Sand Attack, but it is resisted here, so we had to at least throw the charge move to finish up. GG's. So we get a Frostlass lead. I'm just gonna stay in and go for Surf. I figured they're gonna have to throw Avalanche and I can live at least one. That might not be the worst case scenario. I mean, I'm getting some decent chip damage already out the gate here. And yeah, pretty much we force a shield here. And I think what I end up doing is switching into Marowak, trying to get some chip damage off with the Fire Spin into Frostlass. They bring in Vigoroth as a safe swap, which is a good call. We're just going to be spamming the Bone Clubs into Vigoroth since it does resist Ghost. We are going to commit a shield. They could have bait here. Them baiting here could have been significant, but fortunately for us, they don't, and we do end up shielding both Rock Slides successfully. Here's the second Rock Slide about to hit us, and I think at this point I'm like, I could just farm down. So I'll just conserve my energy, which will be really nice for whatever comes in. They end up having Venusaur, which I'm just gonna smack this with a Shadow Bone, and I can actually just go for a Bone Club to finish up Venusaur before I can really do anything here. And they just bring back in Frostlass, and at this point, it's quite okay if they Shadow Ball me, because they don't have a way to one-shot Dedenne, and all we gotta do is just throw one discharge, and that will be a GG. So the set's looking a little bit better, bringing it back, and yeah, it's a really fun team, honestly. Like, I was kind of really enjoying, I mean, granted, we're still early season, so we're seeing so much variety, and people really experimenting with different team comps. We get an Arcanine lead here, which I feel like I never see. It looks like it's Snarl, and our fast attack is good here. I'm just gonna let the first move go through. It ends up being Psychic Fang, and I will commit a shield on the second move, afraid to get hit by a Wild Charge, but they actually make a great call, and they do end up baiting me with a Psychic Fang. So good call from my opponent there to get one of my shields for a Psychic Fang. And I decided just to let Furfrou go here, just thinking maybe I can go for some sort of farm down on Arcanine. And I guess I didn't want to take a Wild Charge, but they make the great call to throw the Psychic Fangs. And now they have Greninja in the back, and I was like thinking, oh my gosh, this is actually potentially really bad for me. So I was hoping that they would try to fish for a boost here, and I was going to try to catch a Night Slash. Unfortunately enough for me, that's actually what ends up happening. If they would have thrown a Hydro there, just to be safe, I would have been would have been in a really tough pickle, I think. So fortunately, they end up having him on top and the back. We can remove it easily with Play Rough, and we're just gonna barely be able to clutch out a win here with a Fire Spin. Pretty insane. That Greninja was actually really frightening. So able to bring back that set to a 3-2, and I am still working on an XL carving, so I'm actually pretty happy to see getting some of these carving. Anyways, so let's get into this next match. So we get a Wigglytuff lead. This will be the final set of the video, and pretty much I'm playing this match out exactly how I did in the earlier battles. I'm going for Grass Knot, but in this time I decide, you know, I'm just gonna stay in. And yeah, I just let the Icy Wind go through, and I'm going to throw the Surf. And I'm just going to keep alignment with Marowak and go for a farm down. So I have a little bit of energy lead on Marowak. They end up bringing in Altaria here. I'm just going to throw the Shadow Bone in hopes of getting a shield, because we do have Dedenne. They don't shield, which I thought was a good call on their end for real. And they end up having Registeel. The thing about this, though, is actually Dedenne is pretty decent in this matchup. It can flip this, especially having the energy lead. I can just throw all these discharges. Look how much damage we've done already, and I don't have to shield this first move. I can actually take it, and they do throw a Zap Cannon. They don't get the attack drop, which is actually very nice. And I'm going to just keep throwing discharges, and they're just going to let it go. And at this point, in comes the Altaria again. I'm going to throw one more discharge, and I think I switched directly into Marowak. And I think they decide they're just going to quit, because I think they realized that with my double shield scenario, I was going to be able to get to a double Shadow Bone there before they could really finish me off. So GG's. Next match, we get a Greenet lead. I decided to stay in and go for a Grass Knot to start, just to get a little bit more damage off, because I didn't think they would shield at all. And from here, we're just going to take the moves and return damage back. Just trying to chip away at this Greedent. I'm going to go for the Surf with Furfrou here. And yeah, pretty much just let Furfrou go. I think that's what I end up doing. Oh no, I do think I double shield here, because it is a double body slam. A little risky on my end to do this, but I think I was thinking, like, I might as well just try to get all shields down scenario, like maybe that, like, because I was thinking, like, if they shielded and they, like, we'd have a little bit of a farm down situation there, but they end up letting it go. They bring a Poliwrath. I'm going to safe swap into Marowak, and they end up switching out into their Galvantula, which we got kind of lucky here. I guess they could have stayed in with Poliwrath, Maybe they were afraid to just take any unnecessary damage, but it ends up working out really good for us because we could just remove Galvantula. They do go for the lunge, and we get a defense drop also, which is insult to injury. But at this point, it doesn't really matter because we do have just Dedenne sitting in the back line. I mean, we can try to get off as much damage as possible. The thing about this is I save a Shadow Bone on Marowak as a last resort, you know, just in case something goes terribly wrong here. But for the most part, we should be able to just win with Dedenne. And that is GG. We just did the discharge, and it doesn't really matter. They're gonna do their thing here, but I think they scald me. I get knocked out, but I have the Bone Club. I mean, Bone Club or Shadow Bone would have been enough here. I knew I had the Shadow Bone, but I don't know. Sometimes I get a little nervous. I'm just doubting myself slightly. So I just went for the Bone Club, knowing that I definitely had enough energy for it, and it was going to be enough damage. So in this match, we get the Stunfisk. This is crazy though, because Furfrou actually is really good against Stunfisk. Like, it does so much damage here. It's actually kind of insane. So they end up bringing in Azumarill, and I'm just gonna switch into Dedenne right away. There's a great call on their end to catch that move. But now we got my little rodent versus their rodent, and my rodent happens to just be the type advantage in this scenario, and I'm just gonna take an Ice Beam, get a little bit of energy, and then throw another discharge. And as long as we just win switch here, we have great alignment. So we go for another. I mean, the thing is, at this point, it doesn't actually matter even if we get alignment. So I think I just decide, Dedenne, we can just let you be gone because we're not really too afraid of that Stunfisk. And I can just farm down with Furfrou to get an energy advantage. So we have a move for Stunfisk if it comes in. But they end up having the Mandibuzz here, which is actually good that we decided to build up this energy because we don't really have the best way to deal with Mandibuzz. I mean, the only move we have currently left out of all of our fast attacks and charge moves that can actually really hit this is Surf, and that's going to be a neutral move. That's not even stab. So, yeah, we're just pretty much throwing Surfs in hopes of doing as much, and I think from here, I'm just hoping to get out one more Surf. Crazy enough we're able to get to that, which I thought was insane. And we catch them off guard with a Fire Spin from Marowak, and that's just GG at this point. We can commit a shield against Stunfisk and then go for the Bone Club immediately after to finish up this battle. And yeah, they top left. Whenever this happens where the game lags between a turn, that means they just force quit their app. So yeah, that person left. So the Shadow Dragonair is probably one of the more difficult Pokemon to deal with as a lead with this team. Furfrou doesn't particularly have great charge moves to hit Dragonair, and our best way to deal with Dragonair is actually Dedenne. I decided to make a safe swap into Dedenne, which I don't typically safe swap into Dedenne, but yeah, I feel like maybe even just sacking Furfrou might have been the better call in this matchup. But yeah, I'm going to play it out a bit, and they end up bringing in Lickitung. So I'm just going to throw a Play Rough, knowing they're not going to shield this, and I can get a decent chunk off. But yeah, this is actually not going to be the best case scenario, because Lickitung in the back is kind of bad for us. So I'm going to throw one more Play Rough, and I think they just let it go through. And I'm going to bring back in Furfrou. I'm just going to let the Furfrou go. And I'll bring in Marowak after I wait the timer out a bit, just to get a little bit of an energy lead, build up some energy, and they end up having Feraligatr in the back, which is pretty much going to be a GG. Interesting enough though, Dedenne had a pretty good matchup against the majority of the Pokemon on this team. It's just, the alignment was pretty bad for us. I mean, there's not much where we were going to be able to do. I mean, I think maybe just letting Furfrou go would have been better in this type of matchup. I mean, Furfrou does pretty good against Lickitung, but yeah, we definitely, yeah, GG's, I guess, overall. Tough battle. So we get a Talonflame here, and I'm just going to stay in with Furfrou. Just try to get off some damage or get shields with Surf. I know I can take at least one Flame Charge, so I think I'm just going to let it go through, but they end up just going for the Fly. So I think I decided, you know what, I'm just gonna let Furfrou go. I'm just gonna go for one more Surf, and that's quite okay if we have to sacrifice it. So we're gonna bring in Dedenne to get a little bit of an energy lead. They do go for the Flame Charge, which is a great call. I guess I was thinking I'll take a move and then switch in to Marowak to farm down, but yeah, it didn't really work out too good in my favor, unfortunately. In comes the Sableye, and we throw Shadow Bone, and us getting a defense drop here is actually very lucky because now we can safely and fastly, I mean, that fastly is not a word, efficiently farm down the Sableye there. And I knew I could go for a farm down on Talonflame. So we have a decent amount of energy for the back line. We are going to throw Shadow Bone. Unfortunately, this is not the best Pokemon to be aligned with in the back. The Mud Boys definitely were causing a bit of a problem for me with this particular team as well. Like, Furfrou can do great against them, but our back line's kind of struggles. So yeah, a 3-2 set again. And GG's to all my opponents today. That was a lot of fun. Would you consider using Furfrou with the new Sand Attack edition to Pokemon Go? Hope you enjoyed this video, and definitely consider liking, commenting, subscribing. It does help my content reach a wider audience here on the platform. And with that being said, ladies and gentlemen, the Sass Squad's getting stronger each and every day. You have a good morning, evening, afternoon, wherever you're tuning in, and I'll catch you in the next one. And if you'd like to watch more GBL content from me, you can check out this video right here or this video right here.